Of course, in today's video, I'll be talking about the American election. It can't go unnoticed, especially this time because small minorities or small communities played a pivotal role in the recent American election. And I mean here, the Arab community, led, of course, by the Yemenis. And of course, as a Yemeni, I take pride in the Yemeni community in America. It may be small in numbers, but it held significant influence in the recent American election. And as you know, candidates, whether Democratic or Republican, paid visits to Yemenis, not just to attract the Yemenis, but to attract the entire Arab community in America. Because, Yemenis are usually famous, businessmen or famous traders, not just in America, but here, even in the Gulf region. But in America, they're not just famous and well-known businessmen and traders, but they are also now becoming more influential politicians. And that's why I'm taking pride in Yemenis in America, because the case in America is absolutely different. وندخل حلقة اليوم مباشرة. جاوبوا على هذول السؤالين في خانة التعليقات. Don't forget it. What are you waiting for? Do you think the recent American election was rigged or fair? Do you think the Yemenis played a pivotal role in the recent American election? Let me know and throw me a comment. What are you waiting for? Just do it.
I'm gonna fire you. This is my Lamborghini.
Trump. No, Trump is going to make peace throughout the world. Trump is going to save America, and when America is saved, the world's going to be saved. That's the truth.
تروع عند أمك.
Yeah.
You know what that means, تروع عند أمك?
No.
That means I love you.
I love you more.
As you know, Trump was elected as a president by the American voters. So he is the president-elect, or you can say he is the elected president. And by the way, Trump won the popular vote and the electoral vote, and it was surprising to a lot of political pundits. Trump is also the first president to be defeated and then re-elected. Pre-election period, as you know, we have two parties in America. We have the Democratic Party and we have the Republican Party. And in this section, I'm going to show you how the American election works. Before holding rallies and campaigns, party members gather at the local caucus to discuss their preferred candidates and vote on key issues before the primary election. After that, the two parties hold conferences. For example, there is something called DNC, the Democratic National Convention, is a major gathering held every 4 years where members of the Democratic Party convene to formally nominate their candidate for the presidency of the United States. On the flip side, the Republican Party has a similar convention called RNC. The Republican National Convention is also a major event held every 4 years to formally nominate its presidential and vice presidential candidates. During the convention, each state's delegates cast their votes to nominate the party's presidential candidate. When candidates are officially nominated by their parties, they become the official nominees. In the recent election, Trump was the Republican Party representative because he represented the Republican Party. On the flip side, Harris was the Democratic Party representative because she represented the Democratic Party. The two potential candidates started preparing their electoral campaigns, hoping to win over voters with their ideas and policies. Of course, during the election, the candidate presented a platform focused on healthcare reform, economic growth, and climate change action to appeal to a broad range of voters. Right after that, party candidates start to hold rallies in different cities or states or even towns to attract more voters. When voters are convinced or attracted to a specific candidate, they support him, they rally behind this candidate. At the end of the day, they give this candidate their votes. And of course, when voters give their votes to such a candidate, it makes a difference on the election day. During the election season, political lobbyists intensified their efforts to sway public opinion and influence key policy debates. They usually donate or offer cash donations to voters or even to their preferred candidate. By the way, candidates' rhetoric, the way they speak, the way they address key issues within the country usually makes a difference, or as Aristotle refers to, the art of persuasion, convincing people. The art of persuasion usually makes a difference. And Trump knows which side his bread buttered on. During electoral campaigns, there could be electoral alliance between the two opposition parties, allowed them to challenge the ruling party or their opponents. And of course, this happens across the Middle East or in some Arab countries. And at the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference because we know in advance the result of the election. And by the way, it usually happens when candidates try to mobilize, or when there is a sort of mobilization, when candidates try to mobilize some voters. It happens. And as I said, it doesn't make any difference because it usually happens in Arab countries. And of course, in America, candidates work so hard to attract minorities. And in this recent election, what happened? Trump worked so hard to attract the Arab community and of course the Yemenis rallied behind Trump. والكلمات اللي راح تظهر الآن هي خاصة بالمرشحين. عادة العرب في بعض الدول العربية في الانتخابات النيابية تحديدا لم يقومون بزيارة الناخبين تبعهم بشكل شخصي، يدقوا على البيوت، يزوروهم من مكان إلى آخر. Canvass واحدة من هذه الكلمات. Usually when candidates, volunteers, or even candidates representatives spend days, canvassing cities, knocking on the doors, talking to potential voters. And usually it happens in Arab countries, not just in America, but it's more common in Arab countries. Like I witnessed a lot of candidates, knocking on the doors, talking to potential voters in my own country, in my own village. I don't know if you witnessed that in your own country. And by the way, let me know if that makes a difference in your country. Throw me a comment. What are you waiting for? Candidates also began their campaigns by barnstorming through small towns, meeting voters directly and building momentum. During the election season, volunteers for both candidates work hard to electioneer for their candidate, knocking on the doors and attending rallies to drum up support. Candidates usually spend weeks on the stump, traveling across the state to speak with voters and promote their policies. In America, Hollywood stars may stump for their preferred candidate. In some Arab countries, some candidates may attract some famous people to join their campaigns. It helps them win seats in the parliament. And by the way, to be a powerful candidate in America, you have to outpolitic your rival by securing key endorsements, and usually by outmaneuvering your rival in debates. ومثل ما انتم عارفين كلمة debate تأتي كاسم وكفعل، وهي من أكثر الكلمات انتشارا أثناء الانتخابات، ومعناتها مناظرة أو يناظر. Trump had a powerful debate with Sleepy Joe, or you can say Trump debated with Sleepy Joe. وطبعا قبل الانتخابات في حاجة اسمها polls وتستخدم كفعل وكاسم، يشوفوا مين who is leading or who might win the election. So usually the news outlets poll voters or conduct polls to see voters' opinions on the election. وطبعا during the electoral campaigns أثناء الحملات الانتخابية، سواء كانت presidential election انتخابات رئاسية أو parliament election اللي هي الانتخابات البرلمانية، عادة candidates should focus on the needs of their constituents. Constituents معناتها الناخبين بشكل عام، voters كلهم الموجودين مثلا في مقاطعة أو في دائرة انتخابية. وطبعا قبل الانتخابات before the election we usually listen to trusted seasoned politicians or veteran politicians or political pundits to see their insights on the election. To put it simply, the pre-election period is usually filled with debates, discussions, and rallies about key policies. والآن election day يوم الانتخابات إيش يصير؟ أول حاجة the electoral list is usually updated before the election to ensure that all eligible voters can cast their ballots. وطبعا انك تدلي بالصوت باللغة الإنجليزية تسمى cast your ballot or cast a ballot معناه يدلي بصوته. ويمكنك تقول vote for I'm gonna vote for Ahmed Mahmoud. I'm gonna cast my ballot and put it in the ballot box. Ballot box هو صندوق التصويت، هذا اللي بيحطوه. وعادة يكون في حاجة وخاصة في أمريكا ما شفتهاش في الدول العربية تسمى voting booth or polling booth اللي هو تدخل داخله زي الحاجة كذا زي البوكس تدخل داخله وتعمل vote أو تعمل cast your ballot inside the voting or polling booth. وطبعا البولن or voting station هو مكان الانتخابات، يعني في مركز أو احنا نسميه مركز أو دائرة انتخابية، مكان قد يكون مدرسة زي الدول العربية. هنا تروح انك تعمل ايش؟ voting اللي هو تدلي بصوتك، فهذا يسمى polling أو voting station. You should, if you want to vote for someone, you have to go to the polling station or the voting station. There you can vote for your candidate, you can cast your ballot and put it in the ballot box. It doesn't matter. You could also mark your choice just like that. You mark your choice and you put it in the ballot box. It doesn't matter. You could also say choose. You could also say select. Select your favorite preferred candidate and throw it in the ballot box. In some countries, they might use machines. So after marking your choice or choices, it depends on the voting system. After marking your choice, you have to submit your ballot or your vote using the machine. And by the way, some voters may vote for independent parties candidates. And usually independent parties are famous in Arab countries where democracy makes no difference or it doesn't even exist. A slip of vote, some voters may check, mark, or select the wrong candidate. Such mistakes should be corrected immediately, or the vote won't be counted. So in such cases, many ballots might be spoiled due to voters not following the proper instructions. وطبعا في سن للتصويت، مش أي حد يروح يصوت. People over 18 usually are eligible or entitled to vote in America. In some Arab countries, it might be the case, but I don't know, where democracy doesn't even exist or doesn't make a difference. Non-resident citizen voting. بعض الناس ما يكونوش موجودين في بلدهم، مثلا أمريكي موجود برا بلده فحابب يصوت في انتخابات مثلا الرئاسية. People who live abroad can vote through absentee ballots, proxy voting, online voting, or even voting at diplomatic missions. مصطلح مهم وشائع وهو swing states or swing voters. الناخبين المتأرجحين، الولايات المتأرجحة، بمعنى ما انتش عارف هي هتروح للجمهوريين ولا هتروح للديمقراطيين. وطبعا غرف الفرزة اللي يتم فيها عد الأصوات تسمى tally rooms. Tally rooms are usually filled with reporters, journalists, and tellers, the people who count the votes, or scrutineers. وبكذا وصلنا لنهاية هذا الفيديو. لا تنسى تعمل لايك وشير. This is me saying to ya, see ya.